Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Anna, a clinical psychology doctoral candidate. On this channel, we talk about real-life applications to psychology, and today we're talking about types of charisma and giving you some examples of those different types. So the way that I conceptualize charisma is the way that Olivia Fox-Caban taught it to me through her book, which I have a video on up here, so check that out if you need an intro to charisma. But basically the three ingredients are presence, warmth, and confidence or power. I will kind of be using power and confidence interchangeably for the purposes of this video because I think that power in the context that she says it is a person presenting like they already have either internal or external power, which is in a way kind of confidence. So as you can imagine, the different variations of having these three ingredients, a person might have just one or two of them, or if they have all three, they would be considered pretty charismatic. So let's just start with if you have only one ingredient of these charisma cocktails. If you have only presence, someone who has only presence might be intensely grounded in the moment. It might feel like they kind of see right through you. They seem very attentive to you. They notice every body language shift that you have, what you say, what you don't say. They seem to know what you're thinking. They're very present with you in the moment. They're not thinking about anything else or paying attention to anyone else. When they're focusing on you, they're focusing just on you. They genuinely seem interested in what you have to say. They're reflectively and actively listening. But without the warmth or the confidence, it's a bit neutral. You're not quite sure what to make of it, and it's more like they're studying you, but they're not showing that they either judge you or like you for it. It can sometimes give you the heebie-jeebies to be in the presence of someone who has purely presence charisma. I was trying to think of an example for this. I landed on Elizabeth Holmes, the woman that conned a bunch of people out of money through, I think the company was called Theranos. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But she, from what I saw in interviews, is intensely present, definitely not a warm person. I guess she kind of tries to exude power, but I wouldn't really say that it works. I don't really see her as a very confident person because she tries to change her authentic self, like to deepen her voice, to dress like male CEOs in the industry, which likely comes from a place of insecurity and lack of confidence that her true self would be enough to garner her respect. So I think she's an example of just pure presence, which can be a little bit uncanny feeling. Now, what about if someone only has warmth? Just warmth without confidence can be a bit submissive. It might make people feel good about themselves, but it won't necessarily garner respect in return. Just warmth without presence might feel a little whimsical, like someone who is very affectionate but is just like that with everyone, and it's not really a reflection of them truly seeing you or liking you for who you are. With that all being said though, I think warmth is a wonderful trait to have, and when someone is very warm, it can feel very glowing, very all-consuming, like someone that just comes up to you and hugs you right away, someone who is really affectionate and complimentary with you, can definitely feel very charismatic and wonderful. An example of warmth, I think, is Emilia Clarke. You can see how her face lights up when someone makes her laugh, and she has a very infectious laugh. She's very complimentary. She makes other people feel good about themselves. She seems pretty silly and lighthearted. She seems very physically affectionate. Like there was a photo floating around of her and Jason Momoa during Game of Thrones. I gotta say, I'm not terribly surprised that he's getting a divorce if that's the type of pose he was in with a coworker, but I digress. So I think Emilia is a great example of pure warmth. And for all we know, she could also be very present with people in her personal life and also be very powerful and confident. But I would just say from what I've seen on interviews, she seems like pure warmth. Then there's pure power. Exuding confidence, acting like you have power is definitely something that will get people to respect you, maybe shy away from you or avoid being disrespectful at the very least. It's something that is very attractive to people. We as humans are very attracted to confidence and power because it shows that this is a person that knows how to handle themselves, they could protect themselves, could potentially protect me. And so it's a very attractive type of charisma. But just power without warmth can be intimidating, and just power without presence can feel a little bit self-centered, like the person doesn't truly see you and wants to control you regardless. I also have to mention that just power can actually be a sign of low self-confidence. If they're trying to overemphasize their power, it could be because actually they feel insecure about themselves, like bragging or being very loud, trying to get everyone's attention on them, monopolizing conversations. All these things are typically signs of low self-confidence because true confidence is understated. It's a little bit quiet. I think a lot of monarchs and dictators and kind of tyrannical nation leaders have this type of charisma. An idea that came to mind is Napoleon. There tends to be a little bit of a misunderstanding the idea we have of him today versus how he was actually described back in the day. But I think the popular opinion that we have of him is someone who is very insecure about his height and a little bit mean. He doesn't strike me as having been a very warm or very present person, just someone very eager to be in power to make himself feel more secure as a person. This is case in point about it actually reflecting low confidence though. This is why we call it a Napoleonic complex when someone feels insecure about their height specifically, because it shows that someone's trying to make themselves seem bigger, trying to puff up their chest or whatever peacocks do when they're trying to mate, because it shows that you feel like you have something to prove. Another example of pure power, I think, is the Romanian dictator Ceausescu, who was an awful human being, didn't seem to truly see people at all, and was not a warm guy whatsoever. He just kind of wanted to flaunt and hoard power as much as possible. Now moving on into if you have two of these ingredients. If you have presence and warmth, I think this combination can make you feel amazing about yourself. It can make you feel truly seen and accepted as a person. But when it's not accompanied by power as well, it can make you feel a little bit like you have the upper hand in the relationship. It's like, wow, this person really sees me, they're really warm to me, but they're not really showing a lot of confidence, and so I kind of feel like I can walk all over them. I think an example, I couldn't think of anyone like celebrity-wise or public figure-wise, but I think many therapists early in their career are a bit like this. I probably am a little bit like this as well. Like when you really truly see the client, you make them feel heard and important, very validating and focused on creating this safe, positive therapeutic alliance. But young therapists are also very lacking in self-confidence in the very beginning and a little bit submissive to the client, such as asking the client, is it okay if we switch gears? Whereas a more seasoned therapist might say, I'd like to switch gears now. Like I said, I couldn't think of any celebrities that fit this type of charisma, but if you can, put it down below in the comments. What about presence and power? Without warmth, this can feel very intense, kind of like a lion is preying on you, watching your every move and confident that they can devour you. It can be helpful to have this type of charisma in situations such as like courtrooms, but I imagine in some situations in a court even it might be beneficial to also exude warmth, to get the jury's sympathy, to get the judge to like you. And so I still think having all three is better, but I think presence and power, when they go together, can be a helpful type of charisma when you need to really ensure that you're getting your needs met. I have a lot of examples of this one. One is actually fictional from a book, The Witch of Portobello by Paulo Coelho. And the way he describes this character is she looked right through people as if she could kind of read their minds, and it was kind of said to intimidate them. Like she could really see them, but she was very confident that she could see through them, so to speak. Another fictional character is Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey. Do not recommend that movie for anyone, or the book. Not that I read the book, but just awful franchise. But Christian Grey has this intense attentiveness to Anna, and he's very smug in his confidence, but not a whole lot of warmth or affection or tenderness. So he's a good example of this type of charisma as well. I think Angelina Jolie would be a good example of a real life person that kind of exudes this charisma. She strikes me as very confident and mysterious and intensely present with people, but I haven't seen a great deal of affection or warmth from her. It just kind of seems like She's very confident and she sees right through people. Now, warmth and power are a great combination. Warmth and power make you feel appreciated, like the other person respects you and expects respect in return. But without presence as well, it can feel maybe a little bit dismissive, like you're not quite wholly seen, like the person is not fully present with you, like it's kind of they're just distributing their charisma willy-nilly. I think an example of this could be Zendaya. I haven't seen too many interviews of her, but from the ones that I have seen, she seems very warm, like she's a very touchy and affectionate person, a lot of inside jokes with her friends, she laughs a lot. She also seems very confident, like quite sure of herself. She can do a mean pose for the paparazzi. She doesn't try to prove herself either, so she's not, overcompensating for low self-confidence. However, I'm just not sure I've seen a whole lot of like presence from her in terms of really honing in on the person she's talking to. She just seems a little bit more go with the flow, which can kind of come off sometimes as a little bit distractible. I could be wrong though. If you feel like there's an interview where she definitely shows presence, throw that my way. I'd be happy to look at it. And so the golden combo is presence, warmth, and power. This is true, full-blooded charisma. It's really the best of all worlds. They see you, they show that they like you, and they also show that they like themselves and that they expect you to behave respectfully in return. The classic example of charisma is Bill Clinton. He makes people feel like they are the only person in the room, so great presence. He shows warmth to them, but he also carries himself with confidence and self-assuredness. Some other examples I think are people like Oprah Winfrey, Tom Cruise, Chris Evans, Matthew McConaughey, George Clooney, Lady Gaga. I think these are all people who have that combination of warmth, presence, and power. And one person that I noticed who is kind of up and coming in Hollywood who strikes me as very charismatic is actually Ana de Armas. So I think I will just show you a little clip and react to all the different aspects of charisma that she showed.
Hi Anna, after a long delay, the Bond film No Time to Die is finally coming out. You play Paloma. Tell me a little bit about your character.
She's a CIA agent who's gonna assist Bond in Cuba. He's expecting this very well-trained, prepared, experienced agent, but in reality,
you notice how she's turned towards him. She makes good eye contact, although it's not like domineering. She has her shoulders back. You can tell that she carries herself with a great deal of respect, and also that she respects the person that she's speaking to.
she's just been 3 weeks on the job. This is what I wore for Paloma in Bond.
So beautiful.
I had to do so many action scenes and kick and punch
wearing
and wearing that, and I was terrified because
you notice how she gets enthusiastic when the other person shows an interest in something. She definitely matches and even surpasses their energy. Really shows that she's paying attention to what interests them, what excites them, and trying to enhance that.
I was always like, is any diamond flying? Security everywhere, following me, all places. It was a lot of fun, but they look so stunning.
So you're in the movie with Lashana Lynch, Naomi Harris, Lea Seydoux. How do you think the role of the Bond woman has moved on? Because I remember growing up, they were always like the bombshell in bathing suits, but for 2021.
What's exciting about this Bond film is that you will see the evolution of female roles in them. Every woman here has a purpose, an agency, skilled, is prepared, is...
It does speak to her charisma that she's so positive about this project that she's involved in, that she's boosting up other women and female characters. It shows confidence that she feels comfortable also elevating other people.
Powerful, is strong, and they all show it in their own ways. This is not just being a girl in a pretty dress or to be rescued. They're like equals to Bond. They bring the action, they're partners. They're there most of the time saving his ass.
What's it like being part of such a historic franchise like Bond?
Times have changed. Yes. The franchise has to change too, and I think they've done a great job in this one and set the tone for future Bond films and the female roles in them.
Aside from Bond, you're also in The Grey Man and the Marilyn Monroe biopic. How does it feel to take on such a classic Hollywood.
You heard when she did that, like it's so subtle, but even that in a nod and like keeping your eyes locked on the person can really make them feel very seen.
Well, I mean, a world icon.
To take on Marilyn Monroe was the most challenging and exciting and proud moments of my career. Let me see if I can find this picture. Here, look at that.
But they said they were a girl's best friend.
I wouldn't say that because my best friends will get very pissed.
There we see a great example of some more warmth, the way that she is matching his laughter by laughing along with him. It feels very infectious, the way she's speaking about her friends, while also not putting anyone down, just a whole lot of warmth all around.
You would create this in the movie?
In the movie.
And you do the scene, the dance scene?
Yeah.
Wow, I can't wait to see. You're the ambassador for the Natural Diamond Council.
Yeah.
Tell me what that entails.
Truly working with the NDC, it's been a joy for several reasons, but mostly I think it's because they've educated me. I've learned so much about the ethical and sustainable mining, what's happening. We talk about diamonds and we never think about the communities or the countries where the mines are. This collection was designed by an upcoming designer, Malia McNaughton, because the NDC has a program.
Humility, making sure to consider ethics and how your actions affect others, giving credit where credit is due. All of these are examples of confidence.
For upcoming designers, and they did a beautiful job. I was so proud to wear her pieces. I think she's gonna have a very bright future.
Can I have a signed copy of the book?
Yeah,
Yeah,
only if you sign mine.
I thought this was cool because I don't know who this man is who's interviewing her, so I don't know if he's like pretty well known and famous, but I personally was not aware of him or like what his name is. And so if he isn't somebody that is famous and she says, okay, I'll sign yours if you autograph mine, that's definitely a sign of warmth and presence and making the other person feel very seen and important, even if technically they don't have as much status as you. So again, a really great example of presence, warmth, while also being confident enough to say, yeah, I'll autograph your book. So that was what I wanted to show you about Ana de Armas and how she really, really embodies charisma. And now lastly, there's one more type of charisma that I think we need to talk about, and that is superficial charm. I got a question about this on my last video on charisma, and I think it's a really important question, is what is the difference between true charisma and superficial charisma? One thing is that, like I'm kind of implying, charisma is genuine. It reflects the other person's true attentiveness to you, their goodwill towards you, self-confidence, whereas superficial charisma is an incongruence between their outward behavior and their internal thoughts, attitudes, and feelings. Superficial charm is often for secondary gain, often to get you to trust or like them so that they can then manipulate you in some way, like to get you to comply with their wishes, control you, hurt you, use you as a pawn in their scheme, and so forth. So I think an example of superficial charm is obviously Ted Bundy. He was very charming and intensely attentive to people because he was trying to figure them out. He faked warmth to get closer to them. He seemed confident enough of himself, not too much, not too little, but what we know is that that was incongruent with how he was on the inside, which was a megalomaniac. His confidence was out of control internally, or obviously, I don't know, like I didn't treat him, but that's what people said about him who did the psychological evaluations. And all of this was to manipulate and hurt people. So that's a great example of what happens when your outward charisma is not congruent with your internal attitudes and beliefs and feelings. So I'm really curious, what type of charisma are you? Why do you think so? And is there any aspect of charisma that you feel like you could improve on? So put that in the comments down below, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.